I'll be happy to try and answer. I mean, please sit still. The class is still going on. And if you move, it really, disrupts the whole energy. Does anyone have a question?
I have a question, Stuart.
Yes.
I'm just wondering about when the resistance is so strong against surrendering, when the tension is just so strong.
Well, Alicia, when the resistance is that strong, you are ready to take a major step in your life. And that resistance is really pitting yourself against really moving into a whole new dimension of spiritual, evolvement. And there's always going to be that kind of resistance because we're so used to living with the familiar, with what in many ways, even if it's painful and difficult, we're still comfortable with it. We know what we have. And yet when change comes, when the time comes to move up the scale a little bit and move into a higher dimension, and there's resistance. It's unfamiliar. So when the resistance is that strong, honestly, you're ready to take a major step in your life. This is not a negative thing. And it's just part of the practice to learn how to transform the resistance into chi, into energy, and to use the energy of, look, airplanes fly because of resistance, my teacher Rudy always talked about a diamond being the product of 50,000 years of pressure on the earth. So there are diamonds inside every single one of us, and they want to manifest, but we have that resistance because they represent a step into another dimension of living, and we need to let go. And instead of seeing the resistance as something negative, I am ready for serious change inside me. And just viewing the world that way, the resistance will break down. All right, what am I resisting? I need to take a step into whatever it is that I'm resisting. Find out what the new has to give me and present to me in my life. So what you expressed is not necessarily a negative thing. You're telling me, and I can see it in you, you're ready to take a new step in your life. And then we fight like hell to keep ourselves from doing it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Just you'll let go. Keep working, and it'll dissolve, and you'll find your heart's going to open to a whole new way of perceiving the world. Does anyone else have a question?
Stuart?
Yes, Larry.
What is the significance when the pace of life seems to be accelerating?
Look, what is the significance? I don't know if there's any significance. You understand the pace of life? Yes, we live in a technological age. 1 second of getting on your computer is not quick enough anymore. We need to do it in whatever it is, half a second, a quarter of a second. It's just silly, the pace of life. And yet what we want to do is, we want to enjoy life. We want to open to life. We want to allow life to present us with all kinds of rewards in the way we live. you know, and often the pace of life, especially today, you know, I mean, you can't even turn the freaking news on. I mean, everything they talk about is this crazy pace of life and all the negativity that's going on in the world. You know, and I decided myself, I'm not going to live that way. You know, I mean, it's the old story of the tortoise and the hare, you know. You got to keep plugging along on your inner life, and it seems like it takes but it doesn't. Plugging along, working, the pace of life is, in order to deal with that kind of pace, you really have to be balanced inside. You have to be settled inside. You have to be quiet inside yourself in order to be able to look out at a world where a nanosecond is too long for people to wait for things that happen to them. Just stupid, you know? And if you develop a chakra system, you can look at all of that stuff and you can say, okay, you know, one of the things you can do is you can make it work for you. It's just energy. And the other thing is, you know, who gives a shit? Really? I mean, you know, people have to make themselves crazy one way or another. So the pace of life intensifies. And it really doesn't go anywhere. That's what's so extraordinary about it. It goes right to the grave. I mean, what goes to what's infinite in the universe is the hare, building gradually that inner life that is so connected to higher energy that one truly, you know, surrenders to what's infinite in the universe. And then we write, you know, it's like that thing in Tibetan Buddhism about the Mount Meru mandala. I don't know if you know about that, but to me, it was always something wonderful where, you know, there was an ocean surrounded by mountains, that's surrounded by an ocean, that's surrounded by mountains. And this kind of thing goes on 13 layers, you know? And then, you know, then there's this like skin that covers it, you know? And then in the universe, there's billions of these Mount Meru mandalas. And we think we're sitting at the center of that mandala. We're perceiving the entire universe. We're not. It's one little dot in the universe. I mean, that'll slow your pace down. Just recognizing that we're just a grain of sand on a beach.
Thank you, Stuart.
You're welcome. I mean, to me, that's just kind of a wonderful way to live because you can absorb the intensity of life inside yourself and transform it into a grain of sand on a beach, which is what every one of us is anyway. And to recognize, where does it go? I mean, all of these billionaires from the turn of the 20th century, every one of them's dead. Where does all of that go? It goes right to the grave. A chakra system, an inner life, love, compassion, joy. You understand, building a system that's connected to God allows us to connect with what's infinite in the universe. There is no more death. We are connected to what is infinite in the universe. I mean, I hate to quote Macbeth again, but I think it's one of the greatest things ever written. You know, tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow creeps in this petty pace from day to day until the last syllable of I mean, you know, Out, out, brief candle. Life is but a passing shadow. Poor player that struts and frets his hour on the stage, and then is heard no more. A tale told by an idiot, I love that, through a sound full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And the only way to get past that existential madness is building an inner life that is strong enough to connect us to energy that is infinite in the universe, consciously, not just something that's great in a book, but consciously we experience this in our day-to-day life. Does anyone else have a question? I just have an announcement to make. I mean, literally 10 minutes before the meditation, I got a phone call that a cousin of mine's husband died. And there's going to be a, reception and on Tuesday at 11 in the morning here. So I'm not sure I'm going to be able to make a class on Tuesday. It's just to get there, it's an hour and a half drive to where this place is, where they're doing the reception. So there might not be a class, most likely won't be a class on Tuesday, but there will be a class coming, Thursday. I mean, I didn't even know that. I've lived this literally.
It's 2 o'clock.
I found out about this 10 minutes before this class. So I need to, just pay my respects. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask?
Could I go in for a second one?
Hmm?
Could I go in for a second?
Go in, Lisa, for as many as you want to ask.
You've touched on it already in your last answer to Larry's question, but just this fear of death. Just to speak just a tiny bit more about that.
Well, I spoke about that, with Larry, what he asked me, what you asked me, I keep trying to tell people that, time is a manifestation of the human mind, and our capacity to work inside and connect with infinite energy gives us the ability to transcend time. We bring together all of polarity, all of conflict, life and death, right and wrong, good and evil, in a dialectic that creates a transcendental level of consciousness. And when the soul of a human being is consciously connected to energy that's infinite in the universe, we transcend death. I mean, we have a body that dies, it leaves, and the soul continues to evolve. But that is the work of a human being living here. That's why we're born on the earth. There's so many aggravations and sufferings and difficulties on this planet, and it's a reminder that we have to do something inside ourselves to connect with transcendental energy in the universe. And when that connection is made, we consciously transcend birth and death. We absorb it into spirit, into a oneness with God. But that's the work. That's what, there's God's will and there's human will. And the will of God is for every soul on this planet to connect with spirit. Human will is to internalize the energy and do the work on oneself to overcome all the obstacles so that we can unify our will with God's will. And we're born here to learn how to do this. And that eliminates all of these conflicting energies, polarity, you know, life, death, right, wrong, good, evil, blah, blah, blah. All of this madness that creates the intensity in the world that Larry asked about. That's the work. And I honestly, profoundly believe we are born here to learn how to do this. And otherwise, there's just the transmigration of the soul, moving from lifetime to lifetime endlessly until they finally learn how to do this. Till the person, you know, or the body in which the soul is born into learns how to do this. And all I teach is a way to do it, you know? I mean, I learned this. It's a craft. In many ways, there's nothing extraordinary. It's just a craft that a human being has to learn and apply to their life, commit to their life. Otherwise, everything else goes to the grave. And, you know, it's not only what I do, there are other people that teach things. And I don't know. You know, after I met Rudy, I stopped following teachings of other people because his teachings were so profound to me that when I went to other teachers, it never got close. So I just sustained doing this inner work. Certainly has taken me a long way in my life. I hope that's clear, you know.
Thank you.
You're welcome, dear. Continue working. You're really ready for a major step. You should just continue working on yourself. It's going to be something very wonderful. Does anyone else have a question they would like to ask? Okay, if there are no more questions, the chances, if you don't get an email from me Tuesday morning, you know I've gone to this reception because of this cousin of mine who passed on. But there will definitely be a class next Thursday. And God bless you all. Thank you for being here, for demanding of me, for doing the work that you do on yourselves. And God bless you, everybody. And I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next class. Thank you.
Thank you, Stuart.